There is no better classic circuit than this one. There is no better understanding of racing than trying to get these properties together. There is no circuit that a sim racer knows better on the back of their hands than this track. This is arguably one of the greatest circuits you could ever possibly drive. This is the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. This is your Grand Prix Legends finale, and this is brought to you by the Global Sim Racing Channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world. My name is Jake Sperry, and alongside me in the booth for this one is Joey Atterbury. Robert O'Brien is on the cameras today, and they are provided by Dougie Beard. But what to say about a circuit that does not need anything said about it? It is one of the hallmarks of great racetracks by design and one of the great hallmarks of great racing in general. To get an understanding, if you're new here for the first time, our GSRC track guide will give you more about this legendary track.
Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2.25 miles in length, 11 turns split up the current configuration. I say current because up until 1988, the track's layout was shockingly simple with a mere 9 dangerously fast corners. But despite becoming a much more technical track, this difficult nature was retained in its modern form. Turn 6 in particular places an emphasis on precision and daring with its tricky dip at the apex and narrow racing line. But the most well-known spot on the track is of course the corkscrew. Blind and kinked on entry, it then whips the driver through a chicane which drops you nearly 60 feet. It's earned a reputation worldwide for forcing even the most daring competitors to second-guess themselves. But there's honestly a refreshingly wide variety in types of corners, making it a perfect track for driver coaching and training. Elevation changes, differing cambers, and every sort of apex imaginable leaves seasoned veterans and newcomers alike spending hours trying to perfect a lap. With the track becoming popular for hosting IMSA, IndyCar, and MotoGP in its recent history, it also brings out lots of vintage racers due to the Monterey historics each year. Likely to remain a fixture on the American racing scene, this legendary circuit is almost always high on drivers' best of lists. Its history and its uniqueness are sure to delight all for years to come.
What more can be said about this circuit being so brilliant for racing? It has got everything you could possibly ask out of a track, which is great for the lower speed machinery up to the machinery we got today, Joey. It's full classics. It's a full 3.6 kilometers. It's full fun. It's everything you could possibly want.
And the best part about the virtual world, no decibel limits out here, so we get to crank it up to 11, just like how many turns there are here at Laguna Seca, and quite a bit of elevation change. When I think of Laguna, I think of a very low-grip technical racetrack. A couple big passing opportunities. The Andretti hairpin down there, also known as Turn 2. You go down a big hill, so it's got a decent-sized brake zone. You can also kind of do a lot of over-unders. There's a double apex down there at Turn 2, so lots of different ways to approach it. But then turns 3, 4, and 5, relatively similar medium-speed corners, and so I say relatively similar in the fact that you got to use up all the track. From entry to apex to exit, you got to use it all out there, and then you start going up the hill through 6, down the Rahal straightaway to the tallest point on the racetrack up there at the corkscrew, and from there you plunge straight downhill like a water slide through the rainy curve, down through turn 10 and up to turn 11, the very final turn on the racetrack. And yes, it is still a little bit downhill from there to the start-finish line. It is one amazing lap around Laguna Seca.
One amazing lap and one amazing series, and we'll get to do that over the course of 25 laps. Now, this championship here, that gap is 30 points large between Togo Hesada and Jorge Nieva, but the way that the 2 drop rounds come into play today, if Togo Hesada decides that he can't finish this race and scores a grand total of 0 points, Jorge Nieva, with his points that he's got in the back pocket, can only close up to 10 points behind. Togo Hesada is your Grand Prix Legend Series champion already. Sebastian Tixier is third with Aldrius Valentias, a driver who could, by every single measure of metric, have challenged for this title, but too many drops have basically put him out of contention with Marco Antonio Lopez, a career best of 5th for him in the championship. That'll be one to keep an eye out on between himself and Laust Olsen, and also John Olsen in 7th position, who's just 7 points back of that 5th place. Robert Plumley having a great season. He is 8th with Javier Sanchez 9th, 1 points difference between them, and Bill Tyler rounding out the top 10, 170 points adrift. It's been a runaway though, Joey, when it's come to the F2 standings.
Absolutely. It's been Kevin Verbruggen on top literally all season long, and you see that dominating pretty much 60-point lead over Jan Steffen. And then things do close up. I always love watching the F2 driver standings. Jan Steffen, Rolly Wallbank, only about 20 points separating, and then it tightens up 15 points to Jonathan Jourdain. But look at how close it gets from there. It's only, call it 5 to 10 points per position. Kirk Clapper, Arnold Cook, Don Peak, all involved in that fight. Always love seeing Tobias Harnvey, Andres Bruno, and Jem Matson out here too. I think one of the coolest parts about the 49 F1, F2 driver standings is watching a lot of these F2 drivers eventually graduate out of F2 and go challenge that F1 standings.
Cup of Nations in the hands of Spain, currently 581 points. Japan, 33 points adrift in second, with the United Kingdom housing at 3rd place ahead of Singapore and the United States. A large gap between 5th and 6th, with Denmark currently housing that, and the sole efforts of Aldrius Valentias have put Lithuania up into 7th position. Germany find themselves in 8th, with the Netherlands 9th, and the Italians rounding out the top 10 of those Cup of Nations. But over 25 laps here, Joey, this is going to be about patience.
12 of 12, so the patience, it's pretty much run out, right? We're at the last of the events, 25 laps like you were saying, but you do have to be patient because you don't have a spare car. So if you go knocking into your competitors or off track, you're going to have to live with that damage. And then the standard iRacing, road racing stuff, 17x a drive-through penalty and a disqualification at 25x. I really don't feel like the incident limits ever come into play here, Jake. It's always about that self-inflicted damage.
Yeah, and that damage, of course, with these being open-wheel machinery, has often found itself in play. Here on his second lap is Sebastian Tixier, currently 4th fastest on a 22.830, rushing through the final corner. 22.4, the time to beat by Aldrius Valentias. Mick Claridge not a million miles away. Over the line to 22.5. It's good enough to jump one position over the incoming champion, Togo Hosada, but it will only be a best of 3rd for Sebastian Tixier over the line. We still have the likes of Jorge Nieva out there trying to get his second lap in on the board. He is someone who has been very consistent, and as things currently stand here, Joey, Togo Hosada is champion with just 1 race victory this season.
You know, but he has developed so much as a racing car driver, and I think that kind of proves it, right? He knows that, yes, you have to have speed to win the championship, but a lot of the times when you're racing against the likes of Jorge Nieva, Mick Claridge, Valenteu, Seb Tixier, and all of these other names that are incredibly fast, if you got a second-place car, take the second place. If you need to race it to a 3rd place, take the 3rd place, and Togo Hosada proved, as long as you are consistent about it, you can still be at the top.
Jorge Nieva has been very, very flittery on the steering wheel. Again, having to put a little bit of counter steer through, heading through that 10th turn on the circuit, rounding that final corner, fighting for power as he goes forward. Nieva on a 23.4 currently, puts a 22.6 down, and by 1,000th of a second has jumped Togo Hosada to the 2nd row of the grid. So fantastically done. We got drivers like Andrew Eng. I think Andrew Eng is the only driver out there who could potentially improve on his lap time right now. So the field almost set. A number of drivers then haven't put a lap time together on the board, which just leaves the lumbering number 27 going through. So this is how it's currently going to stand as it goes through. Aldrius Valentias will be on the pole position, depending right now with a 122.457. Mick Claridge off his bike and into the car will be alongside for company. Sebastian Tixier and Jorge Nieva will start 3rd and 4th, with Togo Hosada 5th and John Olsen making good qualifying efforts there in 6th position. It's Nicola Cocchi who is in 7th position. Row 4 housed by the F2 Championship leader, Kevin Verbruggen, in 8th place. Andrew Eng's just had a spin, so he won't improve. So this will be how it stands. Xavier Sanchez goes from 9th as Heike 360 ES goes, and Gary Ho rounds out the top 10.
Then in 11th, we have the number 19 car of Steve Morris back here. Next to him, it's going to be David Rossi lined up in 12th. And then we got Roberto Pengrazzi in 13th spot. Alex Otero in 14th. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado will be starting inside the top 15. Matthew Maudsley in 16th. Jeff Saunders in 17th. Rolly Wallbank in 18th. And then on row number 10 is Jem Matson and Cam Porter in 20th.
Over the page then to 21st, where Michael Grissinger finds himself situated at this moment. Tobias Hanvi will be with him in 22nd. It then follows Alan Graham and Bjorn Ackermann in 24th, with Jan Stefan and Jonathan Jourdain 25th and 26th. Jonathan Sebrerkos de la Torre will go from 27th, with Yanni Pettersson in 28th. Andrew Eng and Kyle Ridley make up the 15th row.
And we have Senna de Grivey here back in 31st, Michael Flaherty in 32nd, Kirk Clapper 33rd, Mats Linden in 34th, Cash Hansen in 35th, and then the final 2 cars is Robert Reynolds, and 37th is Connor Babel.
So 38 looking to try and make progress, 37 trying to make progress. I'd say ideal here today for the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It is 33 degrees track temperature, but it is a little bit blustery out there, so I am expecting a little bit of dramas through the opening couple of laps, trying to get situated with where the wind is effectively going to be buffeting these Lotus 49s. They are so light by car comparison, and everyone is going to have to be very switched on, especially those at the back, as it does grid up around the final corner ever so slightly, right there at the very, very fringes of this field. But with 25 laps to finish off the season, who's going to pick up one more victory? Who is going to improve their place? Green flag in the air and we're underway. It's an absolute stormer initially from Sebastian Tixier, but he bottles up through the second phase of acceleration. And that allows Mick Claris to get away, and Valentias. Everyone looking for an angle now as they dive down through the opening section to the Andretti hairpin. It's a clean start through the first 10 rows as they all manage to pivot their way around, and it's something that we do like to see. A nice start, a bit of side-by-side though through the middle already, as Nieva and Hisada, the two who have fought for the title all season, now decide they want one more for funsies.
Yeah, Nieva was able to slip right in there in that 4th place position, so they kind of settle out exactly how they qualify, at least the top 5 do. And then it's Nicola Cocchi that moved up 1 spot to take that 6th place position. But knock on wood over here, looks like we've got all 37 cars through the first few turns.
Yep, and that's always nice to see, climbing up the Rahal Straight to the most famous corner, or one of them in motorsport, the corkscrew. It's like dropping 11 stories here down on a circuit. They do not make tracks like they used to.
No, they don't, and trust me, when you drive that thing in real life, you aim it at the treetops, and hopefully you've picked the right tree to come out on the racetrack on the other side. As we check on board the number 9 here, this is Seb Tixier currently running in that 3rd place position, completing our first lap here at Laguna.
Well, he gives away his telemetry data here as he charges up on this straight fully. There you can see those small dips on the acceleration, just showing where he's having to engage the clutch to get up through the gears and go through, and that light lift that you saw there rushing through the opening corner there. People think that's just purely flat out and straight. It's not. You do have to lift. There's behind him. Oh! Tixier goes for a huge slide and is able to save it, but he is going to drop a lot of time trying to get back on circuit safely.
Oh, you saw the live telemetry with the counter steer and then another big counter steer to catch it, but you are right. Seb Tixier falls all the way back to 12th position. Thankfully, he didn't spin it around. It is going to be a comeback drive for the 9.
It will do, and up the hill, Togo Hisada wide in front there. That's Nieva just about holding on to it. And thank you, we'll say Hisada. Thank you, we'll say Cocchi, who's now searching for the inside of the corkscrew. Top 2 are gone, so this is for the podium.
And that was turn 6 that they really all got choked up. One of the fastest speed corners on this racetrack, and now we're downhill through turn 10. One of my favorite turns. There's so much banking, and you still go downhill with the compression. Then everybody actually really nice and tidy through here. 11, the final turn, complete another lap, and I can't believe how much Valenteus and Claridge are taking off.
There's one car in the pits, and it's the F2 champion. It's Kevin Verbruggen, who is out of the race then on lap 2 as Kochi dives on through on the inside, but he overcooks it, does Cookie, and then he's got left nowhere to go. He gets hung out, and thank you very much, says Jorge Nieva. He dives through, massive slide from Cookie as he goes up towards turn 3, and that leaves John Olsen nowhere to go as he has to play the patience card.
And it was really Jorge Nieva that almost got into the back of Togo Hisada as all of that was stacking up. So this little fight right here for third place position between 5 cars on the racetrack, it is going to continue, and I have a feeling it's just going to keep swapping around.
In the early stages, it's about where you feel comfortable more rather than where you are out there and how many points have you got in your back pocket. That's going to be the real cause of concern. Another look there up into that section. There's the Team Pegasus car of Tobias Hanvi. Started 22nd. He's up 3 spots already. Looking at Michael Grissinger for position. This would be to go +4, diving down the corkscrew. Middle of the pack looking rather calm, starting to slowly separate itself out.
And this racetrack, it's really known as a driver's track. I mentioned how low grip it is, and then you couple it, Jake, with these cars, these 49s, where these drivers, they really have to grab that wheel, grab the shift linkage, and kind of wrestle this car around the racetrack. It's kind of the perfect combination. It's an old go-kart with really, really low grip, and trust me, you gotta drive it.
Well, you got to have to put it like this here. Oh, there's a car off the road almost. That's Xavier Sanchez going slow. There, Heike 360 ES having a big slide under brakes then at the Andretti hairpin. And this is so innocuous here, Joey, and this is what indicates why Laguna Seca is going to be difficult today, because this is a very sandy style circuit. You've got also all of that burnt grass there as he goes through. The Actimel car, well, he needed a little bit more of his Omega 3 to get him through that corner.
And we've seen a couple times now just cars between the other one just losing it there in turn number 3. If you take it too deep on the brakes, too much speed into these corners with the low grip, there's just no saving it once that rear end steps out.
Yeah, there is no chance really to save it. You are pretty much on a limit of grip, and the moment it snaps, you're in trouble out there. Nicola Cocchi still searching on the back of Jorge Nieva at the end of lap 4 here in this sprint to the finish of 25 laps. There should be no requirements to dive down into the pits. Very slow off the exit though, and that's going to allow John Olsen the opportunity to get closer, but not necessarily make the passes required here at this point. Front of the field, that gap is fluctuating between 1 and 1.5 seconds at the moment between Mick Claridge and Aldris Valentias. Valentias, who has been a tour de force when it's come to this racing. He's been nigh on unstoppable. And Mick Claridge, who's got the natural pace out there to race against anybody. But it has to be said here, Joey, he might be having some race rust, so to speak, with how long he's been out of that Lotus 49.
Well, sometimes you just got to get out the barbecue scraper and just scrape that rust right on off of there. That's what Mick Claridge needs to do, and he's doing okay. He's sitting there in the second place position, but I think he's doing what he needs to do, right? He's on the back of Valenteus, and we got to remember 37 cars are what's lapping here. I have a feeling we're going to run into lap traffic eventually, and as long as Mick is close enough, he'll be able to make a race of it.
He absolutely will. Of course, the car in 36th at the moment is already 1 minute and 5 seconds off the pace. That's Robert Reynolds, who's having a difficult time here today, staying with Michael Flaherty and the likes of those in front. So Reynolds will have to try and do whatever he can to stay longer out there in this race, keep himself on that leading lap and gain some places potentially through attrition here. And normally we would say that this is a track where attrition does take place. It is really starting to actually heat up behind Michael Grissinger out there as Valentine sets the fastest lap of the race. But Reynolds having the lonely race at the moment. He's all on his own.
He is, but trust me, there's still plenty of racing left out here. We're checking in with Alan Graham, who's currently fighting over the 25th place position. He's got Jonathan Jordan, one of the F2 Points Championship frontrunners, right there behind him. Also have Jan Steffen, Mats Linden. So doesn't matter, like you were
Ooh.
pointing out, maybe a little bit further up. Oh, and I believe that's De La Torre off the racetrack.
Well, he was there first. Alan Graham then spun it again. So Jonathan Sebrecos de la Torre off the road. Alan Graham having to wait for everybody to get himself back turned around and going again. But that pack continues. And of course, there's an even bigger pack just in front of the one that Jonathan is dealing with at the moment. And that is currently being spearheaded by Michael Grissinger, which has the likes of Jem Matzan, Alex Otero, and surprisingly, Marco Antonio Lopez in that group.
Yeah, he's doing a pretty good job up here. And the other one that I was noticing just in front of this giant pack here is Seb Tixier continues to not have a very good day, as there's a little bit of an accordion effect going into the corkscrew right there. You always wonder when you get these cars stacked up, who's going to take it a little bit too deep on the brakes.
Yeah, there's always that question, and Otero finds himself through there in that number 17 machine. So he's able to jump forward. He's able to gain that place. They all look then at that final corner. It's a brilliant opportunity to make those moves, and then it's about power application, and this is a drag race, always favoring the driver on the inside. So for Jem Matzan, he's going to look for this one comfortably then going through. You've then got Hanby on the outside, but running that outside line, if you can get the power down, it's perfect, and there you find it. Perfection pretty much there. Watch out on that inside. Thank you very much. Alex Otero flying, sliding.
Oh.
He might make contact. He will. It's going to come back across the circuit. No, they just about keep it out of trouble.
Ooh, that was incredibly close. Thankfully, the cars didn't get spun around, but both of those lead cars in that group off the track, and I believe Alex Otero might have gotten the worst of it. I think he's got some steering damage.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised after that hit, and that will pretty much be a death knell in the coffin for him and how he goes forward. He doesn't have the black and orange mechanical flag, so he can still compete out there. Of course, that black and orange mechanical flag, Joey, is often colloquially known here in racing as the meatball flag. It says you've got 4 laps to get into the pits because you've got too much damage to race, or we'll disqualify you.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens as we check back in on Cam Porter, and to kind of report on what I saw out of Otero, I think it might not have been damage. I think he just might have raised his hand and said, you know what, that was my fault. I'm going to let that car that I made contact with back on by and then get racing. It's always a great group that comes out here to these vintage races.
Oh, you just see that there. There's a classic case of miscommunication there with Cam Porter. Robert Reynolds on the radio goes, okay, go left, take the inside. Cam Porter just says, no, I'm going around the outside. And Robert Reynolds' response was, okay, yeah, you could do that as well.
Well, and you know what? I'm going to chalk that one up to just a little bit of communication mistake. Not everybody has their voice chat on, and I know personally I don't have the voice chat on when I'm doing the stuff. I just want to be in my own helmet out there. When other people start talking, I get distracted. I'm not sure how everybody else has it set up, though.
No, that is very true, and sometimes drivers think that everybody's got that radio on, but not everybody does, and in a sense, this is where you get fun and say that iRacing, I believe, is the best MMO in the world.
Well, if it was, right, you would implement that third-party feature where you could get out of your car in the paddock and walk down to your buddy in his pit stall and really get into his face, then we can start talking about the best.
Oh, you're going to call it a full Sebastian Buemi, then that's perfect. Togo Hosada, fastest lap of the race there, 1:22.479. He's desperately trying to give some chase here to the group in front. He's catching a 1/10 of a second to the race leader over that last lap, but he's already 5 seconds adrift of Valentine. It's going to be a tough road for him to gain those back. Matthew Maudsley here in 11th, having a fantastic run, as there is Javier Sanchez struggling off the corner then as he makes another mistake down at turn 2, the Andretti hairpin. Can't quite make the move, but again, really, Javier Sanchez is really finding out what makes that opening section so difficult.
Well, not just Xavier Sanchez, but the car right in front of him, Seb Tixier. So both of these cars, they have incredible pace. We know that them as drivers, usually up towards the front of the field, but through a couple mistakes, I've seen Seb off the track twice already. And I know that Sanchez also had his little issue, I believe, down there in turn number 2 in the Andretti hairpin. So they're just coming to grips with Laguna Seca, or not coming to grips.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what you're going to see more and more, and you're seeing it there at the corkscrew. That dirt runoff that you get and a lot of that gravel, all of it does get kicked up the moment you under or overcut a corner. That does get kicked up onto the circuit, and often at the end of races like these, this track sometimes has that autocross feel to it, Joey, would you say, where it gets a little bit chalked up, like Jem Matsan right now, who finds himself at the worst possible place to be turned around.
It's a scary place out there because you can't see over the hill. You don't know what's coming at you from the other side of the corkscrew. We're going to get this GSRC replay right here. So up the Rahal straightaway, let's see if there is any contact from behind or if Jem just gets in too deep. Looks like a little bit of a late break move, and yes, definitely side-to-side contact. Very unfortunate for the 33.
And that's where you just got to be alert and in the mirrors there, Joey, because the moment that you see a car down the inside, further than the point that you're braking, that it's one of the few corners out there, because it's a plateaued braking zone, and you try and brake on the crest of the hill, it's so easy to overshoot. You just have to let the space go and say, you know what, you've got to careen forward because I don't think you've got a chance of stopping.
Well, and not only that, I can argue with the at the plateau, you actually have kind of a little jink over to the right in the brake zone, so it kind of sets everybody up behind you just to straight shoot it there into the apex. So there's a lot going on there at the corkscrew, but no matter what, yes, you do have to be aware in the mirror.
You absolutely do, and at the moment, these drivers are all having to be aware. In the middle of the pack as Valentine sets another fastest lap of the race. Up the hill goes the search, and then for moves, it will continue. This is David Rossi and Tobias Hanvey, and that is Rossi comfortably in position ahead of Hanvey at this point, and this on for 22nd position at this moment in time, is doing a good job. You've also got Alex Otero, who's maybe dropped back a little bit on this lap, but this entire group in the middle has brought itself together, and this is what sim racing's about here, Joey. It's not about the front of the field all of the time, because what's racing at the front of the field when you've got nobody to race against? It's the people in the middle who race week in, week out that make series.
Well, and when I was first starting club racing, I was racing Spec Miatas, right? And the reason why I chose Spec Miatas is because you look at the talent pool, it is very deep. Look at the 49s out here. We have 37 cars that show up every single week, if not more. So if you're trying to prove yourself against the best, yeah, you got to go jump in the deep end. And trust me, you're not going to be at the very top immediately. You are going to have to learn how to swim. You're going to have to learn how to tread water and compete against with the best here in this pool.
That's Kyle Ridley losing the place out there to Marco Antonio Lopez there, and that will drop him back to 19th. But Kyle Ridley, one of the big movers in this field, he's up 11 here in this one at the moment, and it's not often that you get to say that someone's having an amazing drive like this, but Kyle Ridley doing what he needs to do. He's keeping it out of trouble. He's got the number 7 on the car, so it indicates he's got a great turn of pace in certain machinery. I wonder if maybe this for Kyle is a case of trying to get an understanding of this machinery. It is very different out there compared to a lot of other pieces of machinery on the iRacing service, Joey, and that will naturally entail that you have to drive this car a little different to everything else.
I think that's why we have a lot of kind of specialists come and race these 49s and 79s, is they like the way they feel. It is not a modern GT3 car. It does not have aerodynamics. It does not have these super ultra grippy tires. It does not have a sequential transmission. So yeah, it's a little bit more like the old school true racing. You got to use 3 pedals if you got them available to you. You got to use an H pattern shifter if you got it available to you. And a lot of these drivers, they use all of those pieces to really get that whole experience.
Oh, and now Jorge Nieva has just fallen back out of 4th position. So he's had a mistake, and it's at the corkscrew as well. So that's what's dropped him down the order. And every which way you look, it's not often you find Jorge Nieva making mistakes, Joey.
No, but he's made a couple so far, just like we've seen out of Sanchez and also Tixier. So let's watch Nieva. He doesn't have anybody around him coming up to the corkscrew, and does he just get in too deep? Probably looks like too much speed going in, and yeah, very, very common. Almost a half spin to the left, but a little bit of a sim racer move. Lock it up and stop that rotation.
Absolutely. That was beautifully done to get it stopped. And now he's able to get back into this race and try and gain that place he lost to Nicola Cocchi, who finds himself in 4th position. Up 3 is the Italian. Now, here's someone who could next season be up there as a contender for championships. He's someone who is definitely finding that turn of experience, very similar to Jorge Nieva, and it's been a consistency championship with I would say a couple rounds missed from Valentius, a few rounds missed by Mick Claridge. You're looking around at the entire field. I'd say this season would have been perfect for someone like Nicola Cocchi. I think for next season, it will be an absolute target of top 5 as a minimum.
And I think it just comes down to what we were talking about with Togo, right? If somebody like Nicola Cocchi, who has incredible performance on the racetrack, starts showing up week in and week out and puts together a championship points run, you're right. I feel like he will be there. He's got the speed to get the consistent podiums, and if he keeps showing up consistently, I have a feeling those podiums will turn to wins.
Mick Claridge has gone off at the corkscrew as well on that last lap. That gap has extended out now to 2.8. It was 3 seconds at the line, and Claridge finding a lapse of concentration. We'll take a look at the GSRC replay then of car number 2 on the brakes. Oh, he's way in deep. Look at that. Full sideways down the hill and gets the compression to turn it round again.
You know, Mick, if you're trying the Zanardi line, he wasn't so yawed out down there. He really committed to it. That's what you got to do.
Wow. Mick Claridge still, though, trying to give chase. And he has to run right now, Joey, because look at that gap. He is there. It's 1.8 seconds back. Oh, he's almost done it again. He's almost done it again. And he'll drop more time here, and he'll have to take the slowdown. And Togo Hasada's going to be all over him. He's tying himself in knots.
And we're going to see, can Togo Hasada keep up the pace? Now he's right on the back of Mick Claridge, because remember, it was Claridge and Valenteus that literally ran away from Togo Hasada, but Togo, after he got a handful of laps under his belt, was starting to click off those purple lap times, so I wonder if he's finally in the groove and we'll have a race for second.
And it looks like Matthew Maudsley's in trouble as well out there on circuit as Hasada sets the fastest lap of the race at 22.3, trying to hunt down Mick Claridge for that position. We'll get an understanding of what happened to Matthew Maudsley in a little bit. It looks like he is completely out of the race, missing the rear right. So it looks like his day's over, but what a chase this is at the moment for Togo Hasada. He knows how crucial it has been for him to be ever the consistent driver in these races, and he is proving that he doesn't have to win all these races. He's got a half dozen second places, which is what's giving him the title, and he will like another second place to add to his major haul of what his Grand Prix Legends Trophy cabinet is at this moment in Japan.
I love watching these two drivers, Jake. At Laguna Seca, you have to use every single inch of racetrack plus all of the curbs in order to be fast. And watch Mick plus Togo Hasada. They're using the entry curb on drivers left or right, depending on which the turn is. Then they're using the apex curb, and then they're using the exit curb. All they're doing is widening the racetrack essentially another 6 feet. That opens the radius that allows you to carry more speed, and at a technical low grip track like Laguna, you have to do that in order to be the fastest.
Mick Claridge in that very Kill Bill-like livery that he's got going at the moment. Togo Hasada in the mock-up Honda colours out there at this point, giving that chase and trying to find that move. Now through turn 3, trying to open up opportunity, these transfer-style corners. Turn 4 has a slightly open radius out there. You don't have to lift as much, and that sets up the miniature run here to turn 5, which is a half opportunity at the best of times under the Mother's Bridge and through the left-hander. Well, you're going to need a little bit more than shoe polish if you're going to try and find that move, Togo. He is being patient because he knows he's got 10 laps.
Yeah, and I think Mick did a really good job of charging through turn 5, but overall, when I look at Togo, he's actually got a really good run here. Can a late move? No, just so much patience from the driver of the number 4. That's the reason why he is your champion this year, just showing that patience on the racetrack, waiting for the right move, because there's plenty of opportunities to throw it down the inside here of Mick, but he's just not quite there to make the lunge perfect.
No, he's not. It's a case of being there is one thing. Finding that angle of attack is another. He takes a slightly shallower line through the final corner, and now he's looking to use that slipstream. Now he's trying to get up through over 230 kilometers an hour, over 250 over the crest, and immediately on the brakes. It's such a long braking zone at turn 2 here, Joey, just because you got gravity fighting against you consistently down the hill.
And, you know, I would love to show people where they are braking at turn 1. Maybe we can get an MPHs on one of these laps, because I was noticing it really is at the exit of turn 1. We're used to the GT3 cars and all these cars with tons of grip driving it into the Andretti hairpin, but these cars, they lift so far down the hill. It is incredible how long they're on the brakes for.
Yeah, it's an age. You're trying to get that slowed. It's almost like you're the anthill mob, Joey, and you're trying to use your entire feet to get the car slowed.
A little bit. It feels like Fred Flintstone, doesn't it?
It very much does, and that can often be the cause of troubles out there. Now, issues potentially for Bjorn Ackermann. He seems okay at the moment, but look at this chase. Now traffic's going to hurt here. Mick Claridge and Togo Hysada. It's where you can get through, and Hysada, I think he might try and take the penultimate corner here. He's got to get on the binders. I think he made slightly a little bit of contact there. Wide is going to go Mick Claridge. Opens the door up on the outside, and all of a sudden, through the melee, they stay as it is, but Togo is throwing everything he's got.
And I got to put that one a little bit on Mick there. Togo had set that up in a really big defensive block from Claridge to get Togo Hysada, to, or I should say, to keep him behind. And here comes Togo down the inside of the Andretti hairpin. It'll be a drag race off. Mick Claridge has got the track position.
Oh my word, he nearly had him in a Sharingan there. It was ninja-like the way he was trying to find that move, but he didn't quite manage it. It was close, but not enough. Brilliant ingenuity from young Togo Hysada. That could have very easily have been Mick Claridge losing out there on that position, but that just shows you how awake you've got to be in a race like this. There's Alex Otero back there in 19th position, now dropped down to 22nd. He has lost 3 places on this lap.
Yeah, but I think most crucially, he's back with a pack of buddies. Look at this, 21st from Mats Linden all the way back to, I believe, David Rossi in 25th. So we've got 4 or 5 cars all bundled up, still arguing over which 20th something spot they want.
Well, the best one, obviously, side by side with Jan Stefan down the hill, trying to get this one all G'd up. One's going to get through, Otero's going to make contact, round they go, and suddenly the 7-10 split finds itself.
Yeah, Otero with more problems on the racetrack. I believe that was Jan Stefan as well. Just talk about one of the slowest corners on the racetrack, producing one of the biggest crashes. I think there was at least 3 cars involved in that one.
So that being a huge, huge moment, and that could have been a lot more, and now it still goes on here, 4th and 5th, with Jorge Nieva still shadowing here Nicola Cocchi for that position, but ultimately, this is a case of, do I really want to start throwing the big haymakers out there with John Olsen 3 seconds down the road? Because if you get it wrong, John Olsen's picking 2 for the price of none.
That's a really good point, and I feel that these 2 cars between Nieva and Cocchi are very similar paced. I think that maybe Nieva does have a little bit more speed than Cocchi. However, there's so many lapped cars, and it really is about the big picture. You slide through the lapped car down the inside of 6, so they both get through cleanly. But like you were saying, still 6+ laps remaining. I have a feeling that door can get opened at some point.
Oh, it absolutely can. And if you can put yourself in the right possible position to make that move happen, Jorge Nieva is going to try. But through the traffic, I think is going to leave opportunities for picks. Open the door up, please. Yanni Pettersson is going to have to abandon there. Nicola, he forced his way through. That was very much a case of getting a battering ram.
Well, and let's see if it pays off here, because Nieva's right in the tire tracks going into turn 1. He's presenting the car down to the inside, but it was more of a little bit of a posture trying to fake Cocchi out, and now he lunges down to the inside. He is right there, so the pressure from Nieva really on at this point.
Well, Nieva's going to try and look for that inside here. Door left slightly ajar by Nicola Cocchi, and he can't really do too much about it. So he's going to have to play once more the patience card, but he's running out of that. You can't have much more left of it. You're down to lap 20 of 25, and look at it chalk up the hill. Look at what they've got to try and navigate.
This is going to be interesting. Through the fastest corner, Cocky goes charging in there, somehow splits the lap car. See you later, Nieva.
Who do you think you are? I am very much Nicola Cocky, taking those liberties with the lap traffic.
Oh, no.
Breaking away. Oh, troubles for Nieva and going behind.
That was incredibly close for Nieva. That was one of the lapped cars that they just got by, but thankfully doesn't impact the gearbox back there. They both escape.
They do both escape, and Nieva finds himself still in that 5th position, and ultimately it's only cost him a second, so he is going to have to work to try and bring that gap back down in the latter stages. Your race leader currently, Aldrius Valentias, and you have to say here, Joey, it's been a Valentias-style race here. 5 seconds clear, and nobody able to hold a candle in the wind against him.
It was only Mick Claridge at the beginning, but remember, Mick wasn't even within 1 second of Andreas out front here, so it really has been just the show of the number 1 car going out there, doing laps, laying down the speed, and it doesn't seem like the lap traffic is affecting him at all. In fact, he's the most efficient, up to 5.5 seconds.
He is, and Mick Claridge, lest we forget, is still having to deal with the factor of Togo Hesada, the champion, to be crowned at the end of these 5 laps, no matter where he finishes at this point. But Valentias, oh my goodness, does he make this look like an art out there? There's a spinner on track, and that was Jan Stefan right in front of Claridge and Hesada. But Valentias, there's a reason why, Joey, he goes down in the Pantheon as one of the greatest sim racers right now in the world. If you know his iRacing, there's another spinner there just in front. That's Jonathan Jourdain, who's gone around. He's got 9,150 iRating.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was checking on that, and you're right, over 9,000 iRating. And I just got to say, Andreas, mine isn't nearly that high. Maybe you could donate some to me over here.
Well, all it takes is 1 retirement and then 200s going pretty much to everyone else in the server. So that much we do know. But here's Marco Antonio Lopez, P16, and he is really trying to recover. He's not had the race that we've seen from Marco Antonio Lopez this season. He's been someone who's been knocking on the door in and around the top 10 all season. This one here, I think, has been more of a struggle street for him as he chases down Rolly Wallbank to get to net even.
I agree with you, and sometimes it's your day, sometimes it's not quite your day on the racetrack, and kind of Marco just doing laps out there right where he qualified. And I think the car in this group that's probably the most impressive is that 3rd car, that number 7 that just wagged the tail coming out of the final turn. So that's Kyle Ridley. He's one of our biggest movers. He's up 13 positions. I believe last time we checked in on him, he was only up 8 or so.
Well, he was up 11 last time we jumped in, but he has gained a couple more, and he has done very well by doing so. So has been able to gain those spots and do so with aplomb as well. So you can't really ask too much more than gaining 13 positions. It's been very much that sort of day. Mats Linden up 14 places at the moment in this race, is probably your biggest mover out there at this point. There's a look then at the group rushing through, then up the hill at 5, heading over towards the very tight turn 6, which often goes underrated, onto the Rahal Straight as the most difficult corner on this circuit.
It is blind on entry. You really can't see the apex. It dips away from you there. You got a huge compression, so you got to overcommit to the corner that you can't see. And then you just got to hope that that compression actually does, in fact, catch the car and not spit you out the other side of the racetrack. And problems here at Rainy Curve. Looks like one of those cars, I believe it might have even been Bjorn Ackerman, spun down to the inside.
Yeah, and look at what that's left. It's left everybody in trouble. Ackerman able to recover, but Wallbank now will find himself side by side with Ridley, and that will put Marco Antonio Lopez in play as well. But Ackerman down into the pits. I think that's damage, and I think that's a real shame for a former F2 champion in this one. Rushing about forward then is this group, and the retirees are starting to just slowly creep up here in these latter stages of the race, and everybody knows that this is a physical race at Laguna Seca.
You're doing a lot of gear shifts. You're on the brake pedal a lot. You never really have any time to rest. And I know that these cars do get up to about 150, almost 160 miles an hour here at Laguna, but it is typically a low-speed racetrack where it is nonstop.
I tell you what, I keep watching Togo Hesada.
Yeah.
He has got his Lotus 49 to turn on a dime. It is so brilliant in the low speed, getting that rotation in, and that is a lot down to the style of what Togo Hesada does out there on a track, Joey. He runs a car looser than anybody else I have ever known, and he makes it work.
Well, loose is fast. You got to remember that. So as long as you can control that yaw angle, that means the car is going to be turning, and you can use the throttle to accelerate out of the corners. Now, where people often get in trouble is using that throttle too much, and then all of a sudden that slide angle, that yaw angle becomes too much, and instead of gaining speed and traction out of the corner, you actually scrub the tire and lose the speed. So it's all in that management.
Here is Xavier Sanchez, who's looking at Steve Maurice. What a race Steve's having, by the way. Up 3 spots into 8th place. He's having a wonderful run.
Definitely, yeah. We haven't really checked in on him in that number 19 car, so Steve doing a great job out there. Like you said, currently holding off Xavier Sanchez, and really the way Sanchez has been driving today, as long as Steve can keep it consistent, I have a feeling he'll be able to fend off this number 6.
Well, that's going to be the question as the final lap starts for Audrius Valentias here in the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It's still on for second, by the way, between Claridge and Hesada, and this might be a telling battle, but Valentias has been simply dominant here today, as he has been at many junctures in this season. If he turned up to 10 races, there'd be no doubt that he'd be champion, but he will have to settle for the bare minimum of 4th, if not 3rd, in this title. Traffic up the hill, and now as Togo Hesada gives that chase and wants one more. Can he find one more up the hill on the Rahal Straight? One bit of traffic. Which way are you going to go? Togo might box himself in here, or will he go either side the traffic? He's off the road. Spin as they go in front, and somehow the Borg! Oh, Togo, how is he still ahead? Absolutely incredible. Claridge loses out in a sheer moment of madness at the end of the season. Audrius Valentias is victorious, is the valedictorian of this Lotus 49 series, and simply unstoppable. Togo will give that place back to Mick Claridge heading towards the end, and I think Mick's going to give that one back. So just like that, they'll play chicken over the line. Claridge will take the second. After you, sir. After you.
That was a little interesting to watch the hand signals as they go across the start-finish line. I think that they both felt like they were kind of wrongly done by the lapped car, so there's no hard feelings between those two competitors by any means.
Well, I don't think either of them wanted second place here in this one. There's not much more you could say. Sanchez does steal it on Steve Maurice then over towards the line, and there's going to be racing all the way to the end of this one. You've got Jeff, his name is Jeff, and he's looking at Roberto Pangrazzi, who's having a great race here. 11th place from the number 36 car. That's brilliantly done by Roberto, but Jeff is going to have to wait for a little bit more as these drivers all will now make that progress towards the line. It's going to be a long haul. There's 19 on the lead lap. Rolly Wallbank will be another one. Marco Antonio Lopez will also be giving chase. But with most of the drivers heading over the finish here at the end of the season, we're going to step aside for one moment. We'll be back with post-race coverage after this. A race which at the end certainly turned into a little bit of hilarity. It's a case of, are you being served, yes or no? But what a season we have had. Victories up and down the order and a champion well-deserved. Augius Valentius will take the victory here today and will win, all things considered, after the miscommunication between Claridge and Hesada on the final lap by 9.6 seconds. It really didn't tell the story, with Claridge second and Togo Hesada, your champion, in third position. Nicola Cocchi will finish off in fourth, ahead of Jorge Nieva, with John Olsen and Sebastian Tixier sixth and seventh. Xavier Sanchez ends up in eighth, with Steve Morris ninth, and Gary Ho rounding out the top 10.
Then we have in 11th, Roberto Pengrazian is number 36. Jeff Saunders in 12th in his number 12. Cam Porter in 13th. Kyle Ridley, our biggest mover, up 16 positions to finish in 14th. Rolly Wallbank here in 15th. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado finishing in the 16th spot. Michael Grissinger 17th. David Rossi in 18th. Tobias Harnvey in 19th. And Mats Linden with a good run, up 14 to finish 20th.
Over the page, a lot of drivers are lapped down here, which includes Jem Matzan, Kurt Clapper. Alex Otero had an up and down day, so too Jonathan Jourdain. Jonathan Cebreros de la Torre found himself then in 25th, with Alan Graham 26th. Andrew Eng and Senna de Graaf will be in 28th position. Jan Stefan will finish off in 29th. Bjorn Ackermann still a lap down in 30th.
Then in 31st, we have Kevin Verbruggen, and then the last two cars, Michael Flaherty and Robert Reynolds, to take the checkered flag. And then, unfortunately, Yanni Pedersen, Cash Hansen, Connor Babel, and Matthew Maudsley did not see the end today.
Yeah, that's troubles for them over the 37 drivers that we had. We didn't get all 37 over the line. We are going to jump in with interviews. First and foremost, we've got Mick Claridge. He stood by with Joey Atterbury.
Well, Mick Claridge, it certainly seems like you scraped the rust off of the barbecue. How was it at Laguna Seca for you?
Oh, it was, what a race that was. What a last lap. That was unbelievable. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Got a terrible start though. I don't know if you guys called it. You must have done, because you're the commentary team that look at races. So yeah, you probably did. So yeah, I got a terrible start, and that was it. The gap to Aldris, and I just couldn't close it down. And then I hit one of those little bollards, what you're showing now on the left hand side there, down the pit straight, and it didn't give me damage, but I don't know what it does. It just messes the car up for it. I don't know if it puts a load of heat into the right front or something like that. Anyway, so that was that. Couldn't really catch Aldris at all, and then sort of lost a bit of rhythm after that. Had a couple of slowdowns through the corkscrew, and then Togo was all over me, and then we had the last lap. Yeah, so yeah, great stuff.
So I have to ask you, because it all unfolded there. It seemed like really out of turn 5, you had a lot on the horizon in front of you. Just talk us through those couple corners and kind of what you were doing in preparation, knowing that Togo was going to throw a move in a lapped car. Just kind of how was it?
Yeah, do you know what, Joey? I love the way you put that, because that's exactly what I was trying to do. I was looking at everything that was in front of you. Look at all the chess pieces and you think, right, how the hell am I going to get through this and stop Togo? Because as you know, Joey, Togo's going to send it, and so he should, and that's what I want everyone to do. Everyone should be like that. And I looked at it and I was planning a move, and I looked and I just had no idea, mate. I had no idea what to do. And then when Jem lost it to the side, I didn't know what happened. I don't know if Togo hit him. I don't know if Jem lost it on his own. And then we both went off. And from the point of when we both went off, I was literally bursting out laughing all the way to the finishing line. I just couldn't stop laughing, because it was just one of those incidents that happen, But yeah, Togo, man, what a guy. I love him.
I mean, you two always put on a great show. Unfortunately, Andreas kind of ran away from y'all. But the last question I have for you, Mick, it seemed like you and Togo were kind of opening the door for each other for that second place. Ultimately, who wanted that second place? Was it you, or were you trying to give it to Togo?
Well, do you know what? He's come on the mic and said, "No, you go, Mick, you go." And I didn't. I don't care about these finishes unless it's a good finish for the last place. So I just thought I'll slam the brakes down and see if I can give it to him. And then he did the same again. So it doesn't matter. None of us care. Championship's over anyway. I wasn't even in it. And yeah, so I mean, you wouldn't see any of that from a championship battle at all. The Lotus 49 are full of gentlemen, but not that gentle.
Well, a classic series champion with points to burn at the end, handing them out to you. Yeah, it's just typical fashion. But Mick, thank you so much for coming and racing here with us.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Good to be back. There you go. Nice one.
That
See you
was
later.
Mick Claridge, the driver of the number 2 car, coming home in second place today.
Yeah, and that will bring the driver who finished in third today in to talk with us, Togo Hasada. Togo, taitoru o medetou gozaimasu. Shizu no toshite subarashi hashiri o shite kuremashita.
ありがとうございます。Thank you so much. いや、ありがとうございます。チャンピオン取れました。どうもありがとうございました。Yeah, it is, the strangest finish I have ever done with Mick. Yeah, really strange finish. And this is a very good, I enjoyed the whole season and every single races. And I have some great battle with a lot of guys. And it's really happy to get the championship for this season.
Well, a fantastic championship for you. I said congratulations on the title. You've driven fantastically all season. But for you, it's been a season of consistency, Togo. Just the one race victory over 12 races, but a number of seconds, a number of third place finishes, another one here today. For you, has it just been a case of just trying to pick up the points when everyone else around you has either not turned up or haven't found the same consistency level that you have? What do you think's been the big difference maker over the course of your season?
Just luck. Yeah. I've many times running the 6th place or 5th place, 5th place, and somehow the actions light disappeared in the front of guys, and somehow take the podiums for the Hungary 30 points. Yeah, it's many days the same situation, so that's just pure luck. And just practice, and Andrews is really fast through the whole season. So sometimes I was able to battle with him, and sometimes it's just untouchable. So just keep him on my pace. Yeah, and the play to the guys collided with especially the front of guys. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So I like to think that you make your own luck when it comes to racing, and I don't think anybody is lucky to be a champion at the end of racing. For you, it's a thoroughly deserved title. Are you looking at this going, you know what? I reckon I'm going to put the work in this week 13, and I'm going to try and come back even stronger so that I can challenge someone like Aldrius over the course of a full season and be at that position where you can defend your title?
Yes, I love the Lotus 59. So my aim is just beat the records who the Mick have. That is the 6-time Swiss champion of this series. So I take the 3 more champions to beat him. So it's still a long way to go.
There's a long way to go, but the floor is yours, Togo. Is there anybody you'd like to thank after what has been a really, really successful season for you?
Yeah, the Lotus 49 community and the Mick, very good battle, and my family, my friends, and the GSRC, streaming team. Thank you very much.
No worries at all. Togo Hasada joining us, your champion here in the Classic Grand Prix series here, your Lotus 49 champion by every measure of metric. And to get the finish line sorted, our final interview of the seasons with Joey Atterbury, he stood by with Cam Porter.
Cam Porter, congratulations on the 13th place finish. It looked like a pretty clean run, up 7 spots for you.
Yeah, I'm very happy with this successful race today. I just wanted to concentrate on staying safe, keeping the car pointed straight so I could end the season on a high note, and I did that, and I'm very, very pleased with this result today.
Well, it is the end of the season, right? It's week 13 next week, and how did you feel about the whole course of the season? Obviously, you'll be back next season as well, hopefully. I got my fingers crossed over here, but what did you feel? Did you learn anything new this time around the block?
Oh, I don't know about that. I've said before, I don't try too hard, and I miss a lot of races because of travel and doing endurance races with my team. So I don't too much effort into trying to get faster. I come out here to have fun and have races with people that are close on the track with me, like Rowdy Wallbank. We had a good race with him today. So, that's what keeps me coming back is the community and the rapport I have with all the guys. Like Mick said, this is a great community, but they're hard racers for sure.
And, we definitely touched on that here at Laguna Seca. I think there was this fantastic battle well behind you, Cam. I believe it was about 20th, 21st position, and it was going on all race long. So you're right. It doesn't matter if you're fighting for 13th, 20th, or up front. It's a fantastic group to come out here and race with, and I think that's why a lot of these racers, such as yourself, come back and keep coming season after season to this 49. But my last question for the season, okay? I know you are pretty much amazing at woodworking. I've checked out the YouTube page. I've checked out the website. It is amazing what you can do. When are we going to get like a full mahogany themed paint scheme for you?
You know what? As much as I enjoy doing paint schemes, I like the classic look of the paint scheme I have right now, and I don't see myself changing it anytime soon. But that seems to be you guys have mentioned it before about having a woody paint scheme, so I might have to do it. Might have to make one now.
I have a soft spot for old Chris Crafts, so yeah, whenever I see all of that woodworking stuff, like it just takes me back to basically what you can do and looking at everything that you do out there. It's amazing. So if anybody is curious, I believe it's Cammy's Garage YouTube page. Why don't you give yourself a plug here?
Thanks. Yeah, just check out Kamey's Garage on YouTube and Instagram. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to make a lot of projects these days. I mentioned it before. I moved about 6 months ago and haven't been able to. I don't have a shop anymore, unfortunately, so I haven't been doing any woodworking. But I've been working at another shop in town for another artist. I'm fabricating things, but not really much time to make videos.
Well, it is awesome. And thank you so much, Cam, for coming out here and joining us every single week. I really enjoy watching you out there.
Thanks a lot for the kind words, guys. We'll see you again next season.
That was Cam Porter, driver of the 13, finishing politely in 13th today.
Look, you got to try and reach a number, and he's done just that. So definitely no worries at all by his performance. That will bring a close to the Grand Prix Legends Series season for 2024, Season 1. We will take the 1 week's break, of course, for Week 13, and then Grand Prix Legends will be back all over again after that. I want to give a massive thanks to everything that has brought together all of what has done, the likes of June Lalonde's music, which you catch on Bandcamp, as well as the team here today, and of course, all over the season as well, specifically today to Robert, to Joey, and to Dougie as well. In terms of what's coming up, there is still quite a bit this weekend with the Global Sim Racing channel, including the IMSA Vintage Series, the likes then, of course, of the Lotus 79 Championship wrapping up, and the Camel Series. That is there, of course, we've just mentioned. And then, of course, we've got majors coming up on top of that. That's going to be a treat tomorrow. But all the other broadcasts, mark them down in your calendar if you haven't already. Watch us on our socials. Go to our website. Go to our merch store. You know the drill. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, race clean, race hard, and we will see you next season.